Hello, I am the real-life fake wizard. It is the summer of 2025, and we have seen a whole lot of superhero movies hit theaters this year, but none of them performed exceptionally well at the box office. You know, nothing is hitting $1 billion anymore. Captain America: Brave New World underperformed. Thunderbolts underperformed. For Fantastic Four and Superman, the jury is still out. These films are actively in theaters now as of the recording of this video, and anything is possible. But $1 billion doesn't seem to be in Superman's future, and I couldn't begin to guess where Fantastic Four is going to land. But what about years past? What about 2024's superhero films? Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web, Joker 2, The Crow, all of those flopped at the box office. Alternatively, Deadpool and Wolverine and Venom 3 did bring in returns on big-budget investments. Deadpool and Wolverine cleared $1.3 billion worldwide, and Venom the Last Dance grossed nearly $500 million worldwide. But I'm not interested in focusing on just the box office metrics. That's not what this video is. Myself and channels like it cover box office analytics every other day. What I care about here is that there has been rampant speculation as to why superhero stuff just doesn't feel super anymore. People have discussed for some time, is there such a thing as superhero fatigue? Or is it perhaps bad movie fatigue? Are audiences not tuning in for superhero, well, anything anymore? How about all those Disney Plus shows? It seems like no one talks about them, even when they're airing every week. These questions and more should be answered, or at least explored. And while there really is no definitive yes or no, I think it would be nice to hear exactly from the fans about what they think. In order to accomplish this, we are going to GalaxyCon Raleigh as invited guests to interview attendees and spread fake magic. I have been attending GalaxyCon Raleigh since 2019, making this my 6th year attending the show. In that time, I've watched it continually grow and expand. The amount of people that attend this event feels like it rivals New York Comic-Con, mostly because of how crammed together everyone is. This year was a standout because of the premiere of GalaxyCon's Street Fest that expanded the convention from the show floor inside to major parts of downtown Raleigh outside. But like with any Comic-Con, there's gonna be lots and lots and lots of cosplay. Cosplay, you know, people that just want to celebrate Halloween more than once a year. These people spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars designing and building these extravagant costumes. How could you spend all that money to look so preposterous? Anyway, when it comes to the question of is superhero fatigue real, well, that could mean a lot of things to different people. The definitions of what fatigue means could change from person to person, and you'll realize very quickly from our talks with these folks, it does. And so, because of that, we're going to need to ask a lot more questions to get to the root of how people actually feel about cape movies in 2025. Firstly, starting with qualifier questions like, do you like superhero movies?
Absolutely.
I pretty much like them. I'm pretty big on superheroes.
I love them.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to make a comeback.
Absolutely.
Love them.
Chuck E. Cheese, how do you feel about superhero movies?
Later that night, Charles Entertainment Cheese was arrested for credit card fraud in Florida.
I'm not going back to jail!
Okay, so at least we're in the right place. 95% of the folks we interviewed like superhero movies, and only a handful didn't have opinions. The next important question would be, how do you feel about superhero movies being made today? There's a big difference between X-Men 2000 and Madam Web, right? In X-Men, we learned what happens when a toad is struck by lightning, but in Madam Web, we learned how to do CPR, baby.
You lock your elbows, and then you place the heel of your hand right on the sternum, okay? And then you pump, and you want to go like 2 inches down.
Seriously, how do we feel about the cape movies?
Not as good as the older ones. I really like the original Iron Man.
I do like Spider-Man a lot.
I think they're great. I enjoy it.
Personally, myself, I like them.
I really enjoy the older, like 2000s, like the 2000s movies, superhero movies. But I'm not a big fan of the new works that, like, say DC is coming out with, and especially Marvel after the Avengers, arc.
They are
that creative. You know, they lack the originality and kind of that same feeling that the ones of old gave you.
I like them. I think they're fun.
I think they're overdone a little bit. I mean, there's like every month you get a new superhero movie, and
Okay,
it's
but
all
that's
just
the
like
whimsicalness, though.
And here we start getting some flavor to this discussion. Firstly, that there are going to be people who still like all the movies coming out. And I think it's important to not discredit that. There are going to be some customers that love Iron Man all the way through Iron Heart, and that's okay. We're going to refer to these people as brand loyalists for now, meaning that whatever the brands do, these people consider themselves loyal to the capes. And yet, upon asking some of these folks, what was the last superhero movie you saw in theaters? Here's what some of them had to say.
I go to the movies still. I think my last movie was Deadpool 3, Wolverine.
It might have been the last Guardians of the Galaxy, honestly.
Probably about a month ago.
And what did you see?
Honestly, I cannot remember.
But I did recently just watch the Superman movie.
Venom 3.
Venom 3.
Yeah.
So you haven't seen any in 20?
We haven't seen any yet, no.
What's the last superhero movie you think you saw in theaters?
Last Superman.
All of these instances were people who are considered brand loyalists, almost in their own words. Two of them were dressed in Marvel cosplay. But when asked what the last one was that they saw in theaters, they named movies that were up to 2 years old or older. Now, does that mean they're not seeing the movies at all? No, because they're watching them on streaming.
We mostly just watch stuff like on streaming services and stuff now. Not too much theater.
Yeah, I usually watch them at home because I don't live super close to a theater.
Are you a Disney Plus subscriber?
Yes.
Do you watch the Marvel shows on Disney Plus?
Yes.
Do you like them?
Yes.
Streaming is now a massive factor in this discussion. Remember at the beginning I said I didn't want to focus on just the box office? But I'm not interested in focusing on just the box office metrics. This is why. Yes, the box office results are indicative of the overall health of the genre, but I'm more interested in customer perception. That's what we're after. If the box office results are trending downward, and they have been since 2020, I want to know what people think about that. You know, it's not just superhero movies trending down, it's the entire box office. Rom-coms, action, horror, superheroes, Disney live-action garbage that gets copyright claimed on my channel, everything. The box office is collectively bringing in less than it was before. And now we're hearing from the mouths of fans that streaming is part of that equation. Is it possible that streaming and video on demand is cannibalizing the box office? Well, that's absolutely a fact, yes. In 2024, researchers did this deep dive on Netflix to see just how impactful it has been to consumer habits. They found that Netflix on its own has led to a reduction of 14 to 17% in box office revenues. That's fascinating. And that doesn't even factor in the superhero aspect. That just means Netflix equals less box office success. Why would that happen? Why is that? Well, it's the 3 C's of streaming: convenience, cost, and choice. It's convenient to sit on the couch in the privacy of your home. It costs less than buying tickets for each film. And you have almost too many choices of what to watch that sometimes we get decision fatigue and just sit there for 20 minutes scrolling through all the movie posters on Netflix. Think like you watch more things on streaming now?
Definitely, yeah. I watch a lot of shows off Disney Plus because it has all the platforms.
At all these streaming services that let you rent the movie that literally came out that day at home. So why go to the theater and see a movie when, you can see it at home?
Now, the change of streaming on consumer habits has only been exacerbated by the impacts of the COVID lockdowns of 2020. During that time, studios that would have put their big budget films in theaters opted to release many of them on streaming networks for the cost of $20 and $30. While this was unprecedented, it did lead to radical conditioning for many normal moviegoers. Also keep in mind that streaming networks were and already had been making movies and TV that were exclusive to streaming as is. In many ways, it's debatable that what you're getting on streaming as far as content quality could be no different to the content quality you're getting in a theatrical release. Streaming networks are paying hundreds of millions of dollars to create movies and television in the same way other studios spend hundreds of millions of dollars to make theatrical movies. After 2020, theatrical windows declined from an average of 90 days in the cinemas to now a measly 17 to 45 days in cinemas. That means the average movie today might only appear in theaters for half a month and be pulled out to be posted online as video on demand. Deloitte explains 75% of US box office revenue comes in the first 17 days. And as soon as the movie gets put on VOD, the box office drops off entirely. If the movie remained in theaters for longer, Deloitte notes that they could capture the remaining 25% of revenue. Obviously, that is dependent on the type of film and the film itself, but longer theatrical windows typically equal more revenue earned over time. Something else that's really interesting here, a 2024 study noted that streaming VOD versus transactional VOD showed that moving films to the subscription tier, meaning that you're not paying $20 or $30 to watch the movie and it's just part of a regular subscription, increased viewership of the movie itself by 192%. That's almost a 200% increase in viewership if you don't need to rent or buy the individual movie. If we zoom out, lots of people aren't going to the movies because of streaming. And then people also aren't willing to pay for the premium videos on demand. Again, because of streaming. Netflix, Hulu, and all the subscription tiers like it have conditioned people around the world to just wait until they could watch it for the cheapest possible dollar investment.
We are on a mission to find Jesus. Come with me as we look and search for Jesus.
So streaming has clearly made a dent on box office returns. But has that contributed to superhero fatigue alone? No, definitely not. There's a lot of factors here, but perhaps let's look at this from another side. Before we even talk about the cape films themselves, are people going to the movies at all?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe 3, 4 films, depending upon.
I only go like maybe once a year.
Like once or twice a year.
Once or twice a year?
It don't go a lot at all, but this guy drags me at least once a year.
How often do you find yourself going to the movie theater?
Hardly ever.
Really?
Why go to the theater when you can just watch this walk through town?
Multiple times a week.
Oh, a week? Multiple times a week?
At least 2 or 3 times, depending on what comes out.
I'd say it'd be like 3 times a year, whatever's interesting that comes out. And I'll be like, hey, let's go with some buddies and drink some beer, Modelo specifically.
Sure, that one dude goes twice a week and a good bunch of people saw Superman already. Heck, I personally go at least once a month, but the vast majority of people we spoke to do not. In fact, many of them only go 2 to 3 times a year in their own words. That's kind of crazy to think about. But actually, if we look at the numbers, in 2024, there were nearly 761 million movie tickets sold in the United States. If we divide that number out by capita in the US, that means that the average American might have seen a movie in theaters 2.2 times in the year. That kind of lines up with what people were saying at the convention, right? Actually, no. That's not the full story at all. There are going to be lots of you in the comments that say, I didn't see 2 or 3 movies last year. Heck, I didn't see any. And that would be true. There will also be lots of you who say, Wizard, I saw 8 or 9 movies in theaters last year. That's way more than 2. Precisely. If we divided tickets sold across the country, we get that 2.2 visits per capita valuation. But the reality is, there are moviegoers that see lots of movies and non-moviegoers who hardly go to theaters at all. The closest data I was able to find to prove this assessment is a 2021 theme report, which analyzed that 34% of ticket sales in the year were purchased by people who go to the movies at least once a month, if not more. Meaning that a third of all tickets sold were at the hands of people making at least 12 visits a year to the theaters.
I don't see Jesus. Yo, Jesus, where are you, Jesus?
But what does all this talk about box office and going to the movies have to do with superhero fatigue? A lot. Superhero movies are played in movie theaters. If we're to determine if a specific genre is fatigued or not, we need to know if people are going to movie theaters at all. In this case, actual attendance to the cinemas is skewed in a way that makes the volume of tickets per people decline. One person might see 12 movies in a year, but that's not at all the same as 12 people seeing one film. But okay, are there other factors that might be contributing to less people going to the cinemas?
Snack prices are ridiculous. They're straight up scamming. I thought the Bud Light night scam? No, movie theater scam hard, bro. They're like Jay-Z's are scammers, bro. The Kanye of scammers. Like, I don't even know. They just scam.
Well, I work at a movie theater, so I get.
Doesn't count.
I get.
He doesn't count anymore.
Said spoilers are really all over the place now.
So you think piracy is actually the kind of part of the problem?
Definitely. Maybe not the main problem, but it's a big part.
Like $5 when I was a kid. Now it's like 30, especially if I bring my wife and my kids. And so that's a thing I have to consider.
Also, their pricing wise, I think they just need to bring back the dollar theaters, man. I need those back.
Okay, so all of this is critically important. Movie-going as a medium is always in competition. There's the cost of travel to the theater, the cost of time invested in watching the movie, the cost of the actual ticket, then the cost of the popcorn and sodas or whatever else, and the cost of a single ticket after matinee prices could reach up to $18 or $20. Sometimes it could be even more if you go for an IMAX experience or something else, and all of that matters, and it clearly matters to all the folks we spoke to. Then compound in the fact that movie-going is competing with streaming like we addressed before, but also there's YouTube that someone could be watching instead. Maybe there's a sports game on or video games to be played. Maybe you're busy spending free time with your family instead of seeing the most recent Marvel movie. Maybe your local theater is actually 30 or 45 minutes away, and maybe your theater is just not a welcoming experience and it's not very clean. And all of this leads to one thing, and we still haven't talked about just the superhero genre yet. But the point is value. There is a discussion on value and where customers place value. Based on what we've covered so far, we can already confirm people are being conditioned, whether directly or indirectly, to seek out films at the cheapest place available, and most of the time that comes down to a streaming network. That means a variety of things are happening. 1, there's not enough value being proposed in cinemas to get people interested enough to commute and spend money. 2, there's too many options of what to do with free time to the point of diminishing the value of movie-going. And 3, which connects both 1 and 2 together better, and that's the fact that people aren't in a rush anymore to see things on opening weekends. There is no mad dash to see anything. I mean, sure, there are still some folks like me out there, but to the average person, they'll see it when they see it, proving that there's not enough value in what's being offered to command attention and ticket sales.
Hey, Jesus, I found you.
You did.
Are you happy that I found you?
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Okay. Can I ask you about movies?
Sure.
How do you feel about modern day movies?
I don't really watch them. I kind of just stick to the old stuff because everything's just remakes and remasters of the same old thing, or they ruin the original.
Thanks, Jesus. How do people feel about today's superhero films? How do people feel about movies being made today?
I've got mixed feelings. I think there's some really solid movies coming out and a lot of acceptable movies coming out.
Both franchises have had their downslopes. Marvel with the multiverse saga kind of got a little fishy. And the whole DCEU was a little bit of a disaster.
They could be a little bit better than they are.
It's that bloated feeling, per se, like it's done too much now.
If a superhero movie is coming out, just get James Gunn to direct it.
No, they're all shit.
All the movies.
Pretty much.
They just, there's always a drive to push something in the movie at this point, instead of just enjoyment.
I think the genre is a little tired right now. I think it's been oversaturated and a lot of movies have come out in a short amount of time and maybe some of them weren't as great as they could have been.
They're all over the place right now. It's a little oversaturated. They're trying to do the same thing. I think there's a lack of direction right now.
I am reveling in their downfall. Every single day I go and check the newest Marvel or especially DC films. When I saw the Flash bomb, dude, I got so hammered in happiness. I was overjoyed.
When you ask everyone, even the people who love the current MCU and everything else that's hitting theaters, to provide specifics on why things aren't performing as well as they used to, The answers are extremely diverse.
Given the last few years, it's been like superhero movie after superhero movie after superhero movie, where like compared to like years ago, it didn't used to be like that. You'll get like one every now and then.
The issue is that all superhero movies try to be the same thing: family friendly action comedy movies, right? And I think if we saw movies branch out into more genres more, we'd see more people watch them.
I think after the pandemic, I think a lot of people are just nervous about being around a lot of large people. A lot of people work these days, so they don't have the time to, take and sit around with their families and watch movies. But I definitely think we should get back to it and, sit down and enjoy movies. You think
Because people take critics' things, even if it's a big critic and they don't watch the movie and they say, well, this is horrible, I don't like it, someone's going to follow off of that because people feed off of what critics say.
Probably because they keep remaking movies instead of exploring new characters. It just seems to be like, for example, Fantastic Four has been made multiple times and they just remade that.
Why aren't people going to superhero movies? Are you sure about that?
It's the critics' fault. There's too many. There's not enough. Heroes are too powerful. Heroes aren't powerful enough. The characters are boring. The actors change too much. There's too many remakes. The writing is weak. There's an agenda to be promoted in the writing. The story ended for me after Endgame, and many, many more simple points. I'd like to add my own. After 2018 or so, the studios thought they knew better than everyone else and stopped listening to what customers wanted. They started making movies and spin-offs for unpopular characters and/or passing the baton to replacement heroes. The television series on Disney Plus created an extra layer of required effort for viewers, and because the quality of these shows was middling at best, the outcome led to audience polarization. The licensing issues with Spider-Man in 2019 was not endearing nor exciting, and all of the drama outside the films themselves leads to more confusion for normal moviegoers and not reassurance or trust, especially at a time when the whole franchise felt like it concluded. Then there are the other studios like Sony who tried to cash in with their own totally phoned-in series slop films. There's a strong argument to be made that the Sonyverse garbage reduced the perceived value of the entire genre. More does not equal good. Then we look at DC, whose leadership was and always has been too busy measuring each other's cucumbers, which I personally believe have pickled, to actually focus on putting a cohesive plan in place of how to move their stories forward. The DCEU, whether you like it or not, is and was too polarizing as a business model. Aquaman is the only film to break $1 billion. The feud happening right now between Gunn and Snyder fans is not going to evangelize normie viewers into seeing new DC movies. It's going to make them say, I don't want anything to do with that. But there's more to be said. The quality of films hitting theaters across the entire Hollywood zeitgeist became debatably boring. Boring is the word. Kinda bad, not great, instantly forgettable, and lots of times unsatisfyingly pointless. It wasn't superhero movies alone that experienced a decline in viewership. It's the entire box office. Oh, and the comic book industry itself continued and continues to this very day to tell stories for audiences that have single-digit persons inside of them. Comic books don't have the pull they did 2 decades ago. Local comic book shops close all the time, sadly. And in January of this year, Diamond filed for bankruptcy. Streaming is convenient and cheap. The movie theaters are far away, expensive, the floors are sticky, and the people are distracting. And though there are plenty more points that can be and should be considered here, like how all the marketing material of the last 5 years has been abysmal, and the press and access media journalism is nauseating, they all contribute to a single phrase that sums up this entire discussion. It's not special anymore. Yeah. Movies, and specifically superhero movies, are not special to all audiences anymore. In 1978, we got Christopher Reeve's Superman, 89 Batman, from 1998 with the first Blade movie all the way through X-Men and Spider-Man, these were all special. Every cape film was special. Take us to Iron Man 2008 and the early Avengers. That level of interest only compounded and grew. See, originally, the children that grew up with comic books got to experience their heroes come to life on the big screen, yes, but they also got to take the children of the 90s and 2000s, their children, to the theaters with them. Superhero films were a 1, 2, or 3 time yearly tradition that crossed family and demographic lines. Take us through MCU phases 2 and 3, and now we've crossed into where gender and age absolutely don't matter either. Superhero films were for everyone. All the characters were household names. It was a form of modern-day mythology, and really, it always has been. People find the virtues in superpowered heroes that they themselves don't possess, and that's partially why we find them interesting. We can look at superheroes and recognize that they have all these strange abilities we'll never have, but we can empathize with the humanity each character possesses. After 2019, it all started to change. We started getting films and shows that contributed more towards characters' selfish ideals, their more hedonistic intentions, rather than sacrifice and selflessness, and not all the time, but often enough where it stopped being special. The amount of content being made, not even movies or television anymore, it was all being classified as content, and that content was more like homework assignments than actually satisfying entertainment. We've had movies and shows that studios knew were terrible, but due to contractual obligations, they had to release them. That didn't help secure customer interest. We're at a place now today where Superman and Fantastic Four, arguably 2 legacy properties that kickstarted the entire comic book industry, are in theaters right now. And the response from superfans is that these movies are incredible, which is unreliably disingenuous. The response from online detractors is that these are the worst films ever made, which again is unreliably disingenuous. And so the normie audience member, who frankly matters a lot on the road to $1 billion, either doesn't care to see these films at all, or they're walking out and going, it was all right.
The only fatigue I believe in is from the gym.
Is superhero fatigue real? Yes. No. It's a complex question. Is it bad movie fatigue? Perhaps. I'm personally sick of bad movies myself. The resolution here is that it's not audience members' fault for not going to theaters. It's not the customer's fault when they're not interested in buying something anymore. It's the company's fault. It's the business. The business is the one making the product. If there is no marketplace there to buy said product, that's on the business for squandering a flourishing market that they once had. People buy things that make them feel special, that make them feel positive feelings. People line up outside of theaters for days when they know what's about to air inside that theater is something that's gonna make them feel something. People go back to the theater 2 and 3 times just to relive that excitement they felt seeing something for the first time. Do you do that anymore? If you go to the theater at all, how often do you legitimately find the time to go see something more than once? If it made you feel special, you would. What can companies do to get butts back in seats at theaters? In our interviews, people said that ticket prices should be lowered, that theaters needed more offerings to make it more appealing. We also heard that studios need to make better films. But I think the best thing they can do is... well, actually, I don't really care. I don't really care that people aren't giving Disney money or Warner Brothers money. I don't care that they can't figure out how to sell to me and you. That's on them. They need to work that out. I'm not interested in helping them. I'm the buyer. And I believe buyers need to wrestle back control of the entertainment marketplace. Lots of people complain about being unable to fight back against corporations. You know that withholding your money makes their knees weak? I think they deserve everything they get for taking audiences for granted. I also believe that we need more competition in the marketplace. I want to see new ideas and new characters, and for people to learn how to tell stories themselves. I want people to read Joseph Campbell and Aristotle and start writing their own ideas and creations. I'm sick of seeing remakes and retreads of legacy properties. I'm done with legacies. I want something more. and I'm fairly certain that a lot of you feel similarly. Your money talks. Don't give it to these companies. Don't go to movies unless you can quantifiably say that the people you're giving your money to have truly earned it. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire others to do the same, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. This was a long one. My voice is shot. Okay, bye-bye.